think it's a time for us as a people to see and to understand that this process is not meant to be a process of violence. Election that leads to a democratic process is the best form of a validation of should be about. And so I want to reiterate again that this contest is about peace, and our country at large. All gentlemen of the press continue to preach and to advocate the rights.
Yes, of course, live feeds from Lagos. The governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo, talking to the media after casting his vote. A very clear point there is that election is not war, just an opportunity for us to elect those who will represent us. And it's our civic responsibility. For those who probably feel that they felt the election didn't go their way or the way of their candidate and decide to do otherwise, certainly not the best thing to do at all.
And just all let it come out, and exercise our right freely, devoid of any form of acrimony or any form of protest or any form of intimidation. That is not acceptable as a government. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, mo fẹ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo wa pé àti débì ọlọ́dẹ fún wa lórí ọ̀tẹ̀ láti ẹ̀rí pé ìyẹn ó lọ wọ́ọ́rọ́ ìjẹ́bí àwọn olúwo.
It's not making any sense.
Èyí tá à ń ṣe yìí kò ń ṣe nǹkan tó yẹ kó wà jàgídíjàgan. Ètò ìdìbò ó jẹ́ gbogbo ọmọ ìlú Èkó, gbogbo ọmọ Nàìjíríà láti lè ṣe tó máa lọ wọ́ọ́rọ́wọ́ọ́rọ́ tí ò ní sí ìjà, tí ò ní sí ìtẹ̀jẹ̀ sílẹ̀, tí ò ní sí jàgídíjàgan. La máa ṣe tó máa lọ tọ́lọ́dẹ máa fún wa ṣe. Gbogbo yín náà bá ti ń jáde ẹ̀ lajú sílẹ̀ ẹ̀rí pé tẹ̀ ń ṣe pé kò sí wàhálà bẹ́ẹ̀. Mo dẹ̀ ń sọ náà káàkiri pé gbogbo Èkó a máa tú jáde ní wọ́ọ́rọ́wọ́ tá à ní ṣe níjà nítorí ẹ̀yin lẹ máa fi gómìnà àti wọn tó máa ṣe náà ẹ̀yin lẹ máa fi wọn sórí àṣẹ ẹni tó dẹ̀ máa ṣe yẹn ọwọ́ yín ló kù sí ọlọ́ adé fún wọn ṣe ọlọ́ adé fún wọn ṣe. I want to thank all of you, gentlemen of the press, for turning out a large number here this morning. I'm hoping that what we have seen here will be reflective of the sincerity of ensuring that that process is free, is fair, and is transparent for everyone to see. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right, Executive Governor of Lagos State there, very comprehensive speech. He spoke both in English and in Yoruba just to express himself as far as the conduct of the election is concerned. We did say at the beginning that Lagos is certainly a place of interest against the background of the outcomes of the presidential election and then all the reactions that have trailed it. In the last couple of days, we've also had comments, reactions, counter-reactions, the challenge of threats to the election and all of that, in Lagos. So we're linking up from Edo North Senatorial District, where McDonald Ironoha is standing by. McDonald Ironoha, good morning. Thank you for joining the live studio. Kindly update us with what's happening in the areas you're covering. Good morning. Please go ahead.
Okay. I'm presently at the 2022. The point that started from the Sayekule, that was 7 unit 9 and unit 1. After which I went to Nemenikwa. German equality was 9, unit 1. When I went to unit 1, unit 21. Then in below, I went to Ward 4, unit 16, unit 22, 23, and 6. Then further on to Imoga, and just looking at Imoga right now. Then the observation is that the turnout in some of these places were a bit low at the initial time of starting. But at the moment, the turnout is increasing, more especially at Imoga and Upilo. All they said is that because the Imoga market, that's why they take that as an excuse. Otherwise, the turnout will have been more than that. So however, I trying to proceed to federal court, I don't know how to start bringing the hand from Auchi. So those are my observations for this morning.
All right, quickly share with us your observation as it relates to the presence of security in these areas that you visited.
Yeah, the security are intact. While I was coming, I thought it's cheap and two on the road because the connection to this town are quite different. So as for the security, all is well. And most of the points have been peaceful, despite the low turnout. I don't see any rapport at any point I visited.
All right, McDonald Eonohai, thank you for joining the live studio. Thank you so much. We'll keep tabs with you to have more updates on the other areas that you are going to visit today. Thank you so much. McDonald Eonohai is covering Edo North Senatorial District. Interesting reports based on the number of voters, which you observed were pretty low, but the number is improving and is increasing as it relates to the conduct of the election. Heavy presence of security agents. We also shared this with you much earlier in Unit 1 in Egwari Primary School, Ekpoma, where materials and men from INEC arrived pretty early, except that the Labour Party logo, which was missing in the first time that the election was supposed to be held, well, this time it's not missing because it's now be reflected in the result sheet with a written LP logo in that result sheet. So that's the update we had from Ferdinand earlier. But there's still a pending issue that we want Ferdinand to quickly clarify with us. We hope we can establish link with him because we saw some skirmishes at one of the voting centers, which also had one of the candidates present who now eventually carried the young man who was a bit unruly in that voting center. We tried to get the connection to know exactly what transpired. We're here to do that, but we hope that Ferdinand can reach us as soon as possible to update us on what eventually went wrong and how the matter was eventually handled. Well, you should expect electronics sometimes don't always live up to expectation, like we saw in the last general election with the Beavers machine. So you see all of that manifesting even in our coverage with signals dropping, signal failing, and all of those inconsistencies. But ultimately, you get the best of the coverage of the 2023 election from independent television and radio. Okay, we were on a point about some of the new innovations, the upsets that are coming in this election, the renewed
voters education,
the voters education issue and all of that. So let's quickly anchor that.
Yes,
point.
yes. What I was saying that is that INEC is not that INEC has not been doing its voters education and all. They've been doing it, but I think what we are seeing today is that the voters are getting more conscious, more sensitive, in view of the hardship, economic hardship they are going through, in view of the fact that, in fact, this currency redesign that made the currency to be very scarce made things even worse. You know, so what we are seeing today is not just because of the governorship election. There are a lot of demographic that is involved. Because in a state like Lagos, for example, you have the core Lagosians, ably represented by what you call the Jado movement. You also have the Igbos, who believe that, hey, over the years they've been there. In fact, the economic lifestyle of Lagos. life wire of Lagos. And they are ably represented by Labour Party.
Okay.
You know, then you have the other extreme, the Tinubu movement. They are also there.
That's the incumbent factor.
Yes, the incumbent factor. Then when you go to a religion, you have what you call the Muslim, then the Christians. You know, they also fit into the whole system. So at the end of the day, when you configurate the whole thing, you discover that it's not going to be business as usual, because these various groups have their personal interests, and it's the interest they are going to manifest, you know, in their voting pattern. So that is why we should not expect business as usual, because things have changed in terms of the economic lifestyle of all the members of the various groups, and the thing cuts across all parts of the country. And that is why the presidential election is different from this state election, in the sense that the various interest groups are more dominant at the presidential election as compared to the state government election. You have less group now involved in the state government election, because they believe that their interest is not at stake, especially when the individual is not an indigene of the state. Therefore, it is perception about who becomes the governor, who becomes members of the House of Assembly at the state level varies from one state to the other.
Let's quickly take you back to Lagos, where the president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and his wife, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, are about now casting their votes in Lagos. We can see them at the cubicle, thumbprinting, getting ready to drop their ballot papers in the ballot box. We're hoping that Mr. President-elect will also have an engagement with the press to give an assessment of the whole exercise, from the participation of the electorate, through the conduct of security personnel, to the conduct of the umpire itself, talking about the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Unlike Mr. President, we saw him in Dara casting his vote. We didn't see his wife, but the president-elect is here with his wife to carry out their own civic responsibility. Without batting an eyelid, you can actually tell who Mr. President-elect will vote for. I mean, nothing short of his own political party. That's a statement of fact. But anyways, that's the way it ought to be. Election is a game of numbers, game of interest. In this particular election, all that is playing out. But there have been a whole lot of upset in the presidential and National Assembly election, which many analysts and stakeholders have said would shape the outcome of the governorship and state House of Assembly election. 28 states were having this election taking place, and about 20 state governors underperformed in the presidential and National Assembly election. Either they lost the presidential election or they lost their own ambition of retiring in the Senate. The electorate decided otherwise. And that's what makes this election quite interesting, because here we're looking at if the state governors who lost at the presidential and National Assembly election couldn't really establish their presence. Is a great indication of their popularity, is a great indication of how the people feel about them. That's why you saw that in the last couple of days, like we established earlier, they were running from pillar to post in a sense, just to be able to mobilize, conscientize, educate. In fact, in some cases, beg the electorate. Yeah, outright begging of the electorate. Moments like this will actually bring to the fore that the electorate are actually the king makers,
Yes.
not the political parties, not the godfathers, not party leaders. The real king makers are the electorate. And in this election, we have seen the electorate showing that they are truly the authentic king makers, devoid of monies, devoid of intimidation, devoid of harassment and all of that. They manifested that. In my opinion, all we need to do is to focus more on the gains in this election, particularly how the electorate mobilized, galvanized, energized themselves for this election to make a bold statement. It's unfortunate that in some of the reports that we're getting from the field, there's the problem of voter apathy, which is reminiscent with our electoral process. All right, voter apathy is synonymous with our electoral process. That's expected. Yeah. But we need to realize that if we want to make a lasting change, it's not something that comes overnight. Yeah. It's something that we need to do repeatedly, conscientiously, consistently. And at the end of the day, the results will come. The results that we got from the election that has been held, the presidential and national assembly election, even though a part of it may not really be reflective of the wishes and aspirations of the people. But one thing is clear. The people made a bold statement in a long while. We can build on that. We can leverage on that. We can lap up on that for future elections to change comprehensively the status quo. As they say, power is not given, it is taken. Even the Bible, recognizes that from the day of John the Baptist, the kingdom of God suffered violence, and the violent taken it by force. It's not with guns, bow and arrows and cutlasses or machetes. No. The violence has to do with your PVC. Come out in the numbers. Yes. Come out in the numbers. And just in case you're at home, you're feeling pained by the fact that the outcome of the presidential election didn't reflect your wishes and aspirations, that's not a big problem. Don't forget that the House of Assembly election and the governorship election is even closer to you. Yes. And perhaps more important, in a sense, you've got to come out and cast your vote. You've got to come out and cast your vote. You've got to come out and exercise your franchise. Because whatever law that is made at the local level will affect you. And will affect you very, very seriously. And so you have to be part of that process to decide who is your representative. If you're not a part of who represents you, then there will be a big problem. Okay, we're taking you now to Anambra State, where one of our volunteer reporter is joining us for this election. Hello, Kola. Good morning. Talk to us quickly. What's your name? And let us know where you're calling from. Okay. Sejita Omonta is a veteran journalist and a freelance journalist joining us from Anambra State. Sejita, thank you so much once again for your contributions to our live studio. So to quickly talk to us on where you are and what's happening.
Okay. Good morning. I'm in Oka, the capital city of Anambra State. Just like you know, the governorship election is not holding in Anambra State because there's already a sitting governor whose tenure is yet to be completed. What we are having is the State House of Assembly election. And the election is across 21 local government areas, and they have parties in the State House of Assembly. As it is now, everywhere is calm, there's no problem, and the process is going on smoothly, free, fair, and according to stipulated rules by the Electoral Board, the INEC. I am standing between polling units 008 and 009 at Ward 1 and Ward 2 at Aroma in Oka. The other thing that we can start is that, of course, the turnout is not all that encouraging like what we have used to had during the previous presidential and national assembly elections. Some of the people interviewed said that they are not they were happy with the outcome of what happened during the presidential election. Okay. And people are coming, they are coming in bits, but not as we used to have large turnout of voters. But in any case, everyone is calm. police are on the patrol across the state, and they are arresting people and the vehicles, important vehicles, who are deporting the restriction, movement of restriction order.
Okay.
So for now, there's no problem everywhere is calm. The markets are closed, the roads are deserted, and the shops are closed. It means that people are complying by the restriction movement order. So the exercise is generally peaceful. There's no violence, there's no problem anywhere for now. So that's the situation as we speak.
Okay, you said a while ago that security agents are fully on the ground, which means we have adequate security cover for this election in Anambra State.
Yes, there are lots of plainclothes operatives, and those of them in uniforms, they are all of them are ready, and some of them are patrolling, making sure that there's a law and order.
Okay, you also said that voter turnout in this election is a bit poor. Is it more of the fact that there is no governorship election, or is it more of the outcome of the presidential election?
Well, like I said, there's no governorship election. Just because of the people feel disenchanted and discouraged by what happened during the last presidential and national assembly election, because those of them interviewed said that they were happy that the person who ordinarily should have been the grand winner of the election is not the person that is the president-elect. Okay. So they said that some of them said that there was no need coming out to vote, and at the end of the day we need to see a different thing.
All right, so sir, let me pause you here, and we'll certainly keep tabs with you as we get more updates from you on the conduct of the State House of Assembly elections in Anambra State, which is one of the states that doesn't have a governorship election this time around. The governorship election in that state is an off-cycle election, and Professor Chukwuma Soludo is still in charge in that state, having been elected not too long ago. Thank you very much, Sijetan. Thank you so much. Okay, 2023 governorship election. We'll be linking up shortly with Joseph Kadri, who is joining us live from Kano State. Joseph, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the Nigeria Decide Live studio. Quickly talk to us where you're reaching us from exactly in Kano. Give us an overview of the situation in Kano as far as the election is concerned, INEC officials, conduct, security agents, and the electorates. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalibu. I am currently at Tiranchi, polling unit, Wale local government area of Kano State. It is the polling unit for the NMPP governorship candidate, Upper Mission. And as I speak to you, I want to head to rain, which means that it's close to coming to cast his vote at the polling. But so far, I can see the deployment of security personnel, beginning with the army. I've seen immigration, I've seen civil defense. Of course, the police, they are primary responsibility. They are all heavily deployed in the polling unit that are ticketed so far. I actually started with the polling unit of the governorship candidate of APC, Nasser Gauna. And in that polling unit, there were some issues. This came from the agro club, the core members who were protesting that they will not be part of this exercise. And we tried to find out what the reasons are. They told us that at the the national election that comprised of presidential as well as the National Assembly elections, they were not paid. Other people were paid, but the corpus were not paid, and as a result, they will not participate in today's election. That argument was on for about an hour until we saw more deployment actually of police, of SSS, and then army came with about 2 trucks. The issue was resolved, and they were allowed to go with their ballot to carry out the exercise. So that's what happened before the exercise started in Gauna. And of course, he came and also cast his vote and left. It's really peaceful. And from there, of course, the polling unit of the NNPD have the issue where, from what I can see, so many persons around, security heavily deployed, the electorates are very calm on the queue, and of course the INEC personnel were also doing their job in line with their responsibilities to them. So far, the river is performing optimally. Let me say optimally, because I have been able to witness just one out of the many polling places where the river did not authenticate the details of a particular voter, and he was asked to go and come back, which by then it is easy for him. And they also checked that the chip in his EBT somehow maybe something crashed it and the system is not recognizing it the way it should.
Okay.
So that is on the area of not being able to authenticate the details of a voter. So, but here I have not seen any in this particular polling unit. Everyone is calm and waiting for the candidate to come and cast the vote. And I tell you, Mr. Tinubu, the environment here is really taken over by journalists. Different media houses are here, all of them are waiting for the candidate to come and exercise his function.
All right, Joseph, quickly, we've had reports from some states where voter apathy is very prominent. How would you describe the voters' turnout in Kano State, arising from the outcome of the presidential and National Assembly elections, which held on the 25th of February?
Okay, the turnout actually varies. There are some polling units with, last that's very few. But irrespective, what's that? A particular one in only 057 and 5. A handful of voters. The service in a franchise. But the turnout is really massive.
Okay, Joseph Kadri, I want to say big thanks to you for joining us from Kano.